Gentleman yields back. Now recognize the gentleman from California, Mr. LaMalfa for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Secretary, for your time and effort here today and what you do. I can't let that dam removal bit in the system that Mr. Reamer was talking about go by. Yes, that would be very devastating for the shipping of crops in that area, as it's been devastating in my Northern California area with the removal of the Klamath dams partly underway now, and the filth and stink and stench and muck that is moving down the Klamath River ostensibly to be helping fish. The wildlife that has been wiped out there, fish, you see hundreds of dead fish in the photos, and deer that have been trapped out there, the Fish and Game had to shoot. All sorts of things going on with that. And then also on the hit list, and that's devastating agriculture in the Klamath Basin, as well as the water taken away from the Scott and Shasta rivers down below. Also the Eel River, where there's a dam slated on the hit list there that'll devastate part of wine country. So dam removal is not something that Congress controls, otherwise we would have put a stop to that. It's runaway agencies and environmental groups. So the issue with forestry in my district in the West, we've suffered the Camp Fire a few years ago. 85 people lost their lives in Paradise area, and then the Dixie Fire a couple years later, a 1 million acre fire, in addition to the many hundreds of thousands of acres of fire, individual 100,000 acre fires. As you know, in the whole West, it's millions per year. So the issue comes down to what is Forest Service doing and the other entities, but we'll talk about Forest Service on federal lands to get the job done. I know they, a couple years ago, put out a concept of 20 million by over 10 years of forest treatment. Well, they have about 200 million acres in their purview. So that would mean 2 million acres per year, over 200 million acres. That would take 100 years to cover that if they were actually doing that. So we've given tools in past farm bills and are trying to enhance that in this current farm bill with more categorical exclusions to help move the ball, but they haven't taken advantage of them. As of recently, it only put a handful of them out to move that. We have good demonstrations. We had a Tahoe project some years ago that when wildfire hit that, the fire basically stopped where that treatment had happened. Other areas where treatment had happened on private lands. So, Secretary, what can we do to get the Forest Service to act and stop the lengthy delays in the project planning process and use these categorical exclusions as we're trying to advance more so in the Farm Bill and make larger areas, 10,000, 15,000 acres, which is a drop in the bucket on the millions of acres?
Well, first of all, Congressman, 85% of the work that's being done is being done under the CE effort. So we are utilizing that tool on an ongoing, regular, consistent basis.
Well, that's good, but 85% of how much?
Well, 85%, well, last year I think we did 4.2 million acres. And not every acre of land obviously is the same, so what we've been able to do is identify where the risks are the highest. We've established a number of about 250 priority fire sheds where we are providing resources for treatment because we see that as the highest risk. And each year we're making the mark, or meeting the mark that we set for treatment. And then we're following up in areas that have been devastated in the past with reforestation efforts.
But part of the problem is that in certain situations, burned acres are counted as treatment. And so when you're looking at the overall volume that we have to do, we have millions of acres we have to get done. And what I'm getting at is we have to have the private sector. We have to use all possible tools. Good neighbor authority, we need tribes, we need local governments, we need cooperation, and not just
being done.
Slow.
All of those tools are being used in a very extensive way.
But to the volume, I'm talking, pace and scale. We got to scale it up dramatically or we're going to keep burying millions. Let me shift quickly to the climate smart. I'm looking at some of the figures on that. First of all, on the goals, what are we hoping to reach? That's a 5-year program, right?
Correct.
Okay, and it was funded by the IRA, right?
No, it's funded by.
Well, there's a kick-in of money towards that from the IRA, right?
No.
CCC, all right, thank you. But there is an influx of dollars to the, anyway, let me what I'm getting at. I see the stated goal of 60 million metric tons of CO2. What's our baseline? What percent of the atmosphere right now is CO2?
I don't know what the percent is. The idea here isn't so much the specific amount, it's learning what works and what doesn't work, so that we can make sure that in the future we are using resources, conservation resources in the most effective. and
Okay,
best
tell me
way.
this then, because farmers are going to have to change practices to participate, and they could be frozen out.
No.
If everybody's doing this. I'm a farmer in my real life, too. I farm rice, and so basically, if CO2 tie-up means no-till, I do not have that as an option, whereas a neighboring crop might have no-till as an option. I don't. So we're going to be left behind. The farmers like the current conservation programs that are out there, EQIP and the others, but this new one here is going to require them to jump through hoops in order to maybe be competitive or not. So just, can you just close on that, and I'll yield?
Can I, do
Go ahead.
you want me to respond?
Please, Secretary.
It's voluntary. It basically creates an opportunity for us to learn what works and what doesn't work. And it doesn't necessarily put people at a competitive disadvantage at all, because you also have the regular conservation programs that are utilizing. And it's not requiring them to go through a series of hoops. And in some cases, it's actually paying them for what they're already doing. But the idea here is to measure, monitor, and verify the results so that we know what works and what doesn't work, so that we don't invest in what doesn't work.
Okay. The CO2 number is 0.04% in the atmosphere. I yield back. Thank
Okay.
you.